Wow, that was a really long gospel. But it kind of sounds like it's a scene from a real TV drama, doesn't it? In fact, it kind of reminds me, and I'm dating myself, of those old Perry Mason shows when they had all the drama going on and trying to find out who committed the crime. Or maybe more in modern days like Law and Order or CSI series. But today we have a drama which some consider was a crime. But what's the crime? We have real life details of how a man born blind was cured, and which somehow ends up putting people on trial. So what's going on here? And why is the gospel writer, what is John trying to tell us? Looking at the facts, we do have the blind man, born blind from birth, and he is healed by Jesus. And from John, tells us that his blindness is not a result of his sinfulness, which was a common notion of the day, but Jesus tells us that his blindness is so that he can be an instrument of showing God's works, bringing vision and light to the darkness of the world. The story even points to Jesus as a creator. Notice how he takes clay and saliva and he mixes it and heals the blind man. This is an intentional reference to the creation story in the book of Genesis. The blind man is recreated, given a new life by Jesus. And as we look at the story so far, we really still can't see a crime. So why does it seem like a trial? Well, there's something deeper going on here that the author is teaching us. First, it looks like the blind man himself is being put on trial. He's brought up in front of the Jews and the Pharisees and kind of put through the ringer. They're looking for something in his testimony. He tells the story and declares that Jesus is probably a prophet since he provided healing. His accusers are still unconvinced of what happened, so they even get his parents involved. Now it seems like they're putting the man's parents on trial. They want proof that this man was blind from birth. Well, the parents are scared, and they do admit that he is their son, and he was born blind from birth, but that's as far as they're willing to go. They want to avoid any trouble. So now they go back to the blind man. And this time the testimony gets more raucous. So doesn't this feel like we're watching a television show? Now we're starting, though, to get to the heart of the matter. With this questioning of the blind man, we can see that they're really trying to put Jesus on trial. They call Jesus a sinner. And after all, in their minds, he violated the Sabbath because he worked. He took saliva and clay and smeared it on the blind man and cured him, and they considered that work. Now, it does look like as if Jesus is really on trial. But the blind man weighs in and he says that Jesus is really a man of God. So the whole thing ends up in confrontation. Everybody's frustrated, and there's no resolution yet. So how does this measure up so far? We got a drama with conflict, name-calling, one that has interesting figures, and a self-righteous group that's looking to put someone on trial and to blame them and punish them. Just an ordinary script for a good TV show. But it doesn't end here. Because in the final scene, we have Jesus and the blind man revealing the real story. Through this whole event, the blind man is awakening slowly to the realization that Jesus is something more. In professing this belief, he's providing proof that he's no longer blind, not just physically, but spiritually. He's no longer blind in his faith. He can see before him the Savior of the world, the Son of God. This is the surprise ending of the story. The real trial that John is teaching us about in this gospel is that Jesus is putting the Jews and the Pharisees on trial. Their lack of faith and superior attitudes block their sight that Jesus offers. Their lack of faith also gives us this paradoxical, contradictory statement at the end. I came into this world for judgment so that those who do not see might see, and those who do see might become blind. As we continually find throughout his life, Jesus, with the Jewish leadership of his time, they were more concerned about the letter of the law than the spirit of the law. They thought they had perfect sight. because they concentrated on the law. But they lost the big spiritual picture that Jesus was telling them. And they persisted in staying blind to his message of love and mercy. In this gospel, John is also inviting each one of us to put ourselves in the witness stand. Are we living as children of light and truth? Or do we allow the world and its tendencies to darken us and to overcome that light and to block the truth? Jesus tells us that he is the light, and if we follow him, we can overcome darkness. We still have a few weeks of Lent left so that we can continue to wash away the darkness in our lives by prayer, sacrifice, and fasting, and all of the tools that our faith provides, not just during Lent, but all year long. I know for me, and probably some of you, it's easy for the world to creep in and cause darkness, doubt, anxiety, and maybe even fear. With a persistent attitude, though, like the blind man in the story, we can keep moving towards Christ and the light that he provides. Then, as St. Paul tells us, this will produce every kind of goodness, righteousness, and truth. So, how will we write the episode of the drama in our life? In our life of faith, the pen is in your hand. You're the writer for your own show. We can avoid the pitfalls of the Pharisees by not allowing our pride to get in the way, thinking that we see everything, but not listening to Christ's call. So let's confidently and prayerfully move forward so that we can be counted among those who seek the light, and we can ask Jesus to be the co-author of our script, so that when Easter comes, we can each feel a part of the resurrection, that like Jesus, we have risen above the attachments of this world and are living out a new script and writing new episodes in our own lives.